Welcome to the RVA Returners Podcast, your weekly source for all things Final Fantasy TCG.
Dude, I have not slept well. I mean, it's only been one night, but because of we just not sleeping at all that whole weekend, today's just been super exhausting. I don't know about you.
I slept like a baby today, but I was off work, so.
Oh, you're so lucky. I forgot you did that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so lucky. But, you're not the only one that's lucky, Adam. And you know why? Because we're back for the next episode of the RVA Returners Podcast. And boy, howdy do we have a lot to talk about today. I'm your host, Chris Adams. With me, as always, Adam Lane. Say hello to everybody.
What's up? Yeah, it was a great weekend. So,
dude, an absolute blast of a weekend. And we'll get to that because that's going to be like the main. That's the meat of this episode. But we're going to start what we always start with, and you know what that is. We all know what that is. And it's the news. All right, so the first piece of news, I think we'll go ahead and lead with this because the reunion's going to make up the majority of that. But the first two pieces we're going to mention are some local news. This Saturday coming up is Soldier Series number 5. It's our monthly event, so people, this is a great way to come out, especially for the local folks. It's a great way to come out and get ready for the next event that we're getting ready to talk about. And Adam, we just mentioned the prizing for this thing, and it's been a blow up. My phone will not shut up.
Yeah, so I mean, Dan posted it or sent it to me earlier, and I was like, "All right, can I post this? Like, is this for real?" And he was like, "Yeah, make the flyer, send it out." And I was like, "All right." So, I ate my dinner and stuff because I had to, do that stuff first. And then I
gotta eat your veggies, man. Gotta eat your veggies.
I made the new flyer, sent it out on the page, and then sent it out to all the U.S. community and then the local communities. And then I've already seen a good number of people share it out. A lot of people are excited over the prizing. So I'll let you go over the prizes updated really quick if you want.
Dude, the prizing is real legit. Like, super legit. All right, so the prizing I'm talking about obviously is for the Richmond Petite Cup. And that's happening on February 23rd. Now, you might be asking, what kind of prizing, what's got everybody's, what's got everybody in knots? What's ruffled everybody's feathers a little bit? Well, so our entry fee is $30 for the Petite Cup. The first place gets a PS4 Slim with Final Fantasy 15, a box of Opus 7, in addition to Square's normal prizing. Let's take a moment of silence for a second. Let that sink in. Holy shit, Adam, that prizing is insane.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And I mean, obviously, I myself, I'm gonna probably come out of pocket for some prizing for this, and I plan to add.
We do it all the time.
I don't know how much I'm gonna add to first place, but I'm probably gonna add to some more, maybe like some top 8 prizes, and I'm definitely at least getting some prizes for us to raffle off to like everybody.
Absolutely. Well, and also too, we've been sitting on it since the community contest. We still have that Play Arts Cloud that we have, so we may look to throw that into a raffle, or maybe even for second prize. So, point is, if you come out to this thing and you perform, you're gonna prize out. You're leaving with some swag.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time, and I think the competition's gonna be fierce. So,
yeah, competition is going to be very fierce, and it's going to be a great event because. We've got a tough act to follow, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be really tough to follow that. I don't even expect to sniff what just happened this weekend, to be fair, but I think we can do a good job of coming close.
I agree, because we'll get a lot of the same people. I already got people blowing up, talking about coming up, crews getting together, renting vans, driving up. But point is, it's going to be a great time. We're going to probably get the pre-registration off the ground here soon so people can start making plans now to come for that weekend because you don't want to miss out. These Petite Cups are really turning into something more than we thought they were going to be. And it's just becoming a great way to hang out, get some really dope prizes, and play some really solid games. So be on the lookout for more information as we reveal it, okay? Sounds great. Okay, sounds good. Now, the other piece of news, the reunion Petite Cup was this past weekend, which is why we're exhausted. And let's talk results. Let's get down to brass tacks here, Adam. The top 8 was absolutely fantastic. It was super diverse. and really making the cut from a 92-person tournament. This Petite Cup had Crystal Cup numbers from last.
Yeah, it was pretty stacked, and the decks were super diverse. Definitely, I mean, yeah, a lot of the usual suspects for sure, but I saw a fair amount of people just bring in kind of like personal brew stuff and things they had been working on to try to counter the meta, and a few people were successful in doing that. So.
And big shout out to Mr. Ian Valise, one of the local Tampa boys, winning with his Earth Lightning Lulu list. Really, really fun to watch. Really did well. Then second was David DeCassi, one of the Orlando guys, one of Jonathan's friends that we got to meet this weekend as well. Playing something near and dear to my heart, a little bit of Earth Fire Warriors of Light.
Yeah, I mean, both decks were extremely different from what you're used to seeing. If you hadn't seen those decks before, they're definitely like pretty real decks. And yeah, I mean, obviously these two guys tested a lot. I can personally speak for David. Like as soon as we walked through the door, like we got in off the plane and went to the house because he stayed with us. That man tested all night, all the way into the morning, and then woke up.
I think he was even jamming games in the morning too.
Yeah, so I mean, he put the time in. He was ready, and obviously it paid off. So I mean, he was able to get second.
Yeah, absolutely. And then rounding out the top four, we had Samsonite Prime, Tampa's own, the golden boy of Tampa, playing. He was playing Earth Wind, but not your mama's Earth Wind. He was playing Earth Wind with the Crystal Chronicles pack.
Yep, no semi, none of that stuff. Still Dada Cactuar, but yeah, Yuri instead of a lot of those cards. It was pretty good. I watched a few games. Not
this in the list either.
Yeah, I watched a few of the games. It was pretty good. I mean, different lines of play for sure from your typical Earthwind list.
Yeah, but turns out Yuri and Chelinka still do Yuri and Chelinka things.
Oh yeah, I mean that package is nuts. So
yeah, I agree. And turns out you can still make it shine in Earthwind as well. So great job to him. And of course, rounding out the top four was Virginia's own Muhammad Ahmad, the big dog, the textbook consistent. Mr. Consistent is what we're going to call that fella.
Yeah, I mean, he went undefeated in Swiss. He was the top dog in Swiss.
He was, yeah. He went undefeated. He actually beat the one in Swiss. I want to say he beat Ian in Swiss, and he was one. I think he was one of. I think Ian was X2, and Muhammad was one of his losses.
Yeah, for sure. I know for sure that Muhammad did take a game off him, and I think his other loss. I think Ian's losses were to Windwater decks.
And then rounding out the top 8 was Chad Blankenship, another one of the Tampa guys that we got to meet for the first time. He was also on Windwater. Jim Doolittle playing what was probably my favorite deck of the weekend. And I'll let you talk about that more when we start, when you break down the event. But he was on some 5-color Gilgamesh Mughals, like some really, just a really sick brew.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and I'll get into that because I played him in Swiss, so.
Absolutely, and we got to see him on stream a couple times. Like really, really solid stuff. And then we had who was my favorite to win, Colin Rupert on Mono Water for Soya, still with only one Cloud of Darkness in the deck. By the way,
yeah, but maybe we should mail him some cards. I feel like we should.
Yeah, I might actually just send him a Cloud of Darkness.
I might bring him one when he comes down to the Petite Cup just as a joke.
Exactly. just to be like, here you go, bud. Put this in your deck. And then, but who knows? By putting a second Cloud of Darkness in there, it may throw his rhythm off and might hurt him more than it helps him.
Maybe.
Indeed. And then lastly, rounding out the top 8 is another Tampa fella. That would be Mr. Alfred Clausen, a name that's pretty familiar because, I know we've met him before. I'm pretty sure he was at ARG Charlotte.
He was. I played him in Swiss at that tournament. Oh, that was the last time I'd seen him. So.
Okay. So, I know he qualified for Nats. He won some of your LCQs or LQs down in Tampa. And, just a really strong performance from him as well. Of course, he played against Muhammad in top 8 in a very grueling set. But, really diverse top 8. 4 of the top 8, actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, 4 of the top 8 was Tampa.
You mean just Florida in general, right? Half of the top 8 was Florida.
All of the top 8 was Florida except for Colin and Muhammad.
Okay.
But I think those four of those guys specifically were from Tampa. Then you had Orlando, and I believe Jim is from Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, and then of course Colin being from Gamers Heaven up in PA. Really diverse top 8 except for the 3 Windwater lists. And those lists, 2 of the 3 lists were pretty similar. Muhammad, while the core of the deck was the same, he had some different numbers on his backups and things like that. But overall, a very, very fun tournament to watch. And then of course there was the top 8 All-Star draft, which, we'll let you talk about that, because you participated in the whole thing. We're just gonna, that's all the news we got. Unless you got anything to add there, Adam. Anything hot off the presses?
I don't think so. I think that's about it.
Man, we're just so hyped for the Richmond Petite Cup, and then just the amazing weekend that we had, and that's kind of where we're going to segue. So, we had been planning to go to this event, since it was announced, like pretty much right after Nats. And this thing was initially just supposed to be just a get together because we hadn't seen each other. We were having the Nats hangover, and we were so concerned and worried that we weren't going to get anything until April. James Lockwood decided to put together, like a Cards of Ivalice presents a community celebration, and we were like, oh yeah, we'll totally go. This will be a great time. It'll be a chance to see everybody and play some cards and just really enjoy each other's company. Then as the competitive season started to shape up, this thing turned into a Petite Cup, and not just a Petite Cup, but the first competitive event of the season. We were already looking at a lot of people committing to this. Then the fact that it became a competitive event, really kind of added to that. Just being able to hang out with everybody again was just such an amazing time. I don't know about you, Adam. Like the flight there was fine. I mean, we were on a rocket bus. I mean, I felt like the flight was super, super short.
It was, yeah. It was like only an hour and a half total. Like in the air. Yeah. An hour and a half in the air.
Yeah, like we literally got on the plane. I ordered a beer. By the time I cracked the beer, we're like, all right, we're preparing for descent. I was like, well, hell. All right, well, here we are. We're home. And then, of course, we stayed at this amazing Airbnb with, with some of the friends. We had Sam, we had Zach. Sam's wife was there as well, Serena. We had Alejandro, the Mr. Great Work himself.
I think we had 12 in total staying there.
Yep. Jonathan was there. Andy was there. David DeCassi was there. We had another David there who I got to jam some games with. Who else was staying there? I feel like there was one more. Or maybe not.
I mean, Steven and Curtis.
Oh, Steven and Curtis, of course. I was thinking outside of the VA group. Yeah, so we had a full house, man. It was a really, really fun time. And let's see. Just that first day was kind of a blur because we got there about 2:00. Alejandro picked us up from the airport. We just really just hung out, man. It was, jammed some games. I think we went and grabbed some grub after that. It was just the way we went to Outback. Had to stake it up for the first night.
Yep, and then we had the impromptu title tournament.
Yeah, dude, man, you mean Final Fantasy After Dark?
Yeah, it was it's pretty interesting. Some people were a little what do we call it? A little leveled up, I guess.
Oh, they were advanced. They were definitely advanced.
Yeah.
Everybody's level of advancement was very different. I started getting real loose because of course, if I'm at a dinner table with Andy Carmona, what comes out? The wine has to come. We celebrated several birthdays for Matt Rice.
I think he had 3 in one night, or 3 in 24 hours.
I'm pretty sure the count for 24 hours, that first 24 hours was 7 birthdays. And man, this man ages in dog years. I tell you what. But also, speaking of which, happy birthday, Matt Rice. I know it's I'm a little late, but happy birthday again, and I'll make sure I tell you the same next time, which will probably be tomorrow. But yeah, just overall, that first night was really, really great. And then, the second day, well, let's talk about that impromptu title tournament. It was kind of fun. We had people who hadn't played, and we had people who were just really excited to jam. I went X1. We didn't do like a cut. We were just like, all right, let's just keep going through the Swiss rounds, and the top 2 seeds will play, and whoever wins that will win.
Yep.
But it was a lot of fun. I went X1. It was funny because I was pretty lit. I had a lot of alcohol, and I'm playing against Chad. He's playing 13, and we're pretty even, Steven. And I'm like, all right, all I got to do is hold Balthier back because they're going to get dull. So I might as well just attack with them. In my head, I'm lining the play out, and I was like, this is fine. I won't lose this turn. First thing I do is turn Balthier sideways and swing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, shit. I think as soon as I was done, I literally went outside and said, that's what alcohol does to you. But it was a good time, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it, just hanging out with everybody. And then if you want to have a good laugh, go back and watch the finals of that on the because the stream it's on our channel.
It was on our channel. Yeah, it should be archived at this point. You should be able to see it.
Yeah, so go back and watch that final match where we have the Gilgamesh special heard around the world. You hear Steve dropping F bombs just echoing through the neighborhood, which I'm sure immediately diminished the property value. And it was just absolutely hysterical. Of all the things that could have happened, like he has one Sildra. I want to say the other Sildra was at the bottom. He had one more in the deck. The odds of him hitting a Sildra here were extremely low. And as soon as he flips it, before you even see it on the stream, you just hear just fuck at the top of his lungs, and just everybody starts laughing immediately. And then when that's followed up by Curtis putting his thing down, flipping it, and reversing it on stream. So overall, it's quite the spectacle. So check that out if you haven't already. It's just a good, fun time, with friends just hanging out, having drinks. And then so we all go to bed at some point. I know some people stay up and jam. Because Curtis and Steven stayed with me the night before, and we all just drove to the airport early. Then the next morning we get up and we are treated. We are treated to the Andy Carmona pancake breakfast. Adam, what were your thoughts on that?
Oh, it was really good. Yeah, I mean, eggs, bacon, yeah, everything you want out of a breakfast meal.
And the fact that, Chef Carmona in the kitchen cooking up a storm, whipping up tasty treats for the boys before they go into battle, making sure they do it on a full belly. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Now, Adam, so we get to the venue. We get there early to help out, get everything set up. We're trying to figure things out while we're there. So what happens is, we go down there, and me and Rice were like, do we want to just do the commentary outside? And we were just like, how about, yeah, let's do it. So that was kind of a chore getting everything set up because of the glare on the laptop and the way the sun was moving, and trying to find.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot. Yeah, I was trying to help set up everything because we used my computer, and I bought some wires and stuff for Andy to use, and so we were trying to get it set up, and we had to get more pieces. Then the first extension cord we got didn't have 3 prongs on it, so we had to get a converter. And then we thought we were good because we had the Ethernet cord, but then it turned out the port didn't work. And so we're running around, I'm running around basically with my head cut off, trying to figure out if we have to move it inside at this point. Do we want to move it in the corner? So eventually we realized that we get the converter back, and I just go on the Wi-Fi, and we kind of ask people at the beginning of the tournament, just hey, try not to use the Wi-Fi, please, so we can make sure we're streaming. And I know the stream had a few kind of laggy bits, and some frames were dropped, but I think overall it was fine.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad that was a good segue. There were some moments where we were lagging for a couple reasons. One, we're outside, which is kind of weird because there was a moment during the tournament where the venue lost internet, but somehow outside the stream kept going. It was so wild. That was really wild to me. Yeah, and everybody was super good. Like you said, there were a couple moments where it dropped, and when you go back and watch the archives, you can kind of see where that is. But the audio never stops. So we were able to keep people up to speed on what was actually happening. Yeah. And overall, a ton of compliments on the stream. Mine and Rice's goal, when we were asked to do the commentary back when this thing was first announced, and I wasn't gonna change my stripes because I know I initially got when it was found out to be a petite cup. Rice and Lockwood both asked me if I wanted to play instead, but I was like, nah, man, I'm already committed to the commentary. Let's do it. And turns out we had a really excellent stream. Our goal was to have no downtime, because that's one of the things that's one of the constant pieces of feedback from everybody in the community. And this is globally. And this, again, I always like to say, this isn't a knock on anybody, because you have to find that happy medium. Our goal was to have as little downtime as possible. And I think during the course of this 11-hour stream, we probably had 1 hour of downtime. And that was during the shift to top 8, the round between top 8 to top 4, and then from top 4 to final, just because you have to get people to finish their matches, and you have to, both the top 4 matches went to time. And so we had a little bit of downtime. And overall, having that much downtime is unprecedented in this game so far. Because a lot of times with streams, you'll have people, a lot of times there's only one setup, and as soon as the match is over, it could be 5 minutes, could be the full round. Then you're usually looking at about another 45 minutes of downtime. We weren't trying to have that this time. So between each round, me and Rice kind of did some recaps. We started a new trend. We called it the hot seat with Chris Adams. We took every winner on stream, brought them over, and just had them talk about their match, their current match, and any matchups they had up to that. So if you were the last one there, you got to kind of recap your whole tournament leading up to where you're at, and just kind of get the players' mindsets on their deck choices and some of their card choices. And people seem to really enjoy that. And just interviewing the random passerbyers, having Irvin there, being able to talk about Bunny Stasis, which he had an awesome demo table set up for that, by the way. So,
yeah, I got in a few games of Bunny Stasis, and I was helping Irvin show some people how to play, like when I could in between rounds.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I really wish I would have had a chance to play. My only regret for the weekend is I pretty much stayed outside the entire time. I felt like Dino on the Flintstones. Every time I tried to go inside, I had to turn right back around and go outside because either like the next round would start or we had to do a player interview. So it was actually a lot of work. And I'm really, really glad and grateful, and that just I'm glad that I could do that for everybody. And me and Rice were just dead that night. Like Rice didn't even go out to dinner with us. Like he got back to the Airbnb and just passed out for like the rest of the night.
Yeah, I mean it was a lot of work to set it up too, as well. Yeah, I mean like you commentated for like 10 hours straight or something.
Oh yeah, that's why we were trying to do our podcast last night, but I had no voice. Like this would have been awful if I would have tried to do this last night.
Yeah, the weather was terrible too, and my power flickered a few times, so I didn't want to like take that risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean setting up the stream, and after everything got set up, I think we ran pretty straight. I tried to check on y'all in between rounds after I was losing most of the day, just to see if y'all were good.
Well, that sounds like a segue to me, Adam. Why don't you go ahead and take it away? Tell me about the constructed portion, from your eyes. Tell us about it through your special eyes.
So I've been testing the Rebels deck a lot, and it did perform pretty well against the top decks. The only deck that I was super worried about was like Mono Ice going in. Mm-hmm. Didn't see any Mono Ice at all. I didn't even know if I saw anyone really on it. So yeah, we get our pairings. The event went super smooth. I got to hang out with people in between rounds and stuff. Not a lot of downtime, no breaks really. So yeah, I mean that was great. I think Lockwood and them ran a great event. I made sure I pulled him aside as much as I could just to tell him like how thankful I was that he was doing something like this, because I feel like he should get all the credit in the world for that. That event was amazing, and it definitely wouldn't have happened if it weren't for him. So and his team too, his team as well.
Yeah, the Cards of Evil East gang. Not to cut you off there, but I really think the community in this region would probably not be what it is if it wasn't for him, for him doing this kind of stuff, keeping, really being a cornerstone of like the Florida scene. I buy a lot of stuff on his online store. And they're just great people. Him, his wife Kayla. I got to meet. I don't know if they're his brothers, family, or whatever, but I know we had some other people there. They all did a fantastic job helping out, and really from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I kind of hope this becomes a regular thing. Honestly, I hope he can continue to do this. Yeah,
I agree with that.
But yeah, so I sit down. I see my first opponent is Jem Doolittle. I think that was his name, right? And so John tells me like that's a local, and that he plays with them. And I'm like, okay. And so I sit down, and like Irvin's in the seat, like the game next to me, and he's playing against, I believe, Alejandro. Irvin starts talking up Jim and saying like he's been working on this brew with them, and I'm like, oh, what am I about to play? Like, I mostly prepared for like the top decks, and Rebels isn't something that's super common, so a lot of people aren't gonna know how to play against me either, really. He starts dropping backups, and it looks like, he drops a Mog 11 turn 1, so I'm like, okay, it's probably some Earthwind thing, but he might have some weird stuff in it. So my turn one
turns out you were right about that part.
My turn 1 was Sid 2, so I'm like, okay, I'm great. This is great. And my turn 2 was Zidane, so I'm like, okay, let me see his hand. When I looked at his hand, I was like, what? So like I see a bunch of cards, and I see a Dodaluma in there, right? And so I'm like, I'm trying to like look at the cards, try to figure out like what he's playing. So I'm like, okay, he's got to be playing some kind of Moogle thing. So I'm instantly thinking, okay, it's got to be like Earth, Wind, Ice. That was my guess. And so I take the Dodaluma out of his hand. And then we keep playing. I'm able to pressure him. Guy sticks on the board for a while. I get him to 6. Like, pretty fast, actually. And, I'm phoenixing things as they come down. He's able to, like, stabilize and stick a Gilgamesh. He's got, like, the Crystal Chronicle Moogle out at this point. He Shantoto'd one of my boards. I think I had him, like, 6-1 or something. And then all of a sudden, I'm staring down a board of, like, Dodaluma, Sarah, starter Sarah, and Gilgamesh. and I cannot get over Gilgamesh. Like, he's just like threatening at all times to basically be like a 14k or something. He's constantly pinging down my board. I managed to kill like the Dodaluma, but at that point I'm like on 5, and then once I get there, I managed to like wipe his board, and I played a Sin, so I have a Sin out, and he's on 6, and he had no cards in hand, so I'm like, okay, as long as he doesn't top deck a forward, I win. And he draws 2 cards, and he plays another Gilgamesh, and I'm like, I think I'm dead. So yeah. Nice. That was pretty much it. He wins 7-6, and that was kind of a theme for me that day. I lost 4 games, 7-6. I ended up going 3-5. So not the best day. I went down to kind of the lower bracket pretty early. Started playing against a lot of other people's kind of brew decks. I did okay against those, but I was probably about 50-50. I only really got to play one pseudo meta deck, and that was Mono Water for Soya, and I lost that 7-6. So yeah, I mean, but like while it wasn't a great day for the constructed tournament for me, I still had fun. All the games were good, and they were really grindy, and I knew going into it that it was going to be a grind fest for me because the deck that I brought was grindy. The best match I probably had of the day, and I lost this match as well, was against David that we stayed with. He was playing Water Ice, and I knew what he was on, and I knew that was going to be a problem for me because it was like super low to the ground. He was just going to like play a bunch of small forwards and make me discard, and I don't like discarding. But I managed to like kind of take that game the distance, and I'm in a pretty good spot. But he ends up hitting the 7th point of damage before I'm able to deck him out. And it was a really close game. It went to time. It went to turns. But the turns didn't matter because if I had passed back to him, he would have decked out. Or if he wouldn't have won the turn he did, he would have decked out. So that game was really good. And then, yeah, I mean, I think once I lost that game, I was pretty much out of contention. But I played out all my rounds.
I was gonna say, did you regret your deck choice at all, or did you still feel confident, where it stands now in the meta?
Maybe a little bit. I wouldn't recommend anyone bring it, if that makes sense. But there are definitely some improvements I could see that can make it better in the meta. I also didn't get to play some of the matchups I wanted to play. I feel like it was pretty good against Earth Wind, and I never got to play anybody playing Earth Wind.
You sound like John and Dan at that point, because I know they said they kind of tech their Earth Water or their Wind Water deck to be good against Wind Earth, and apparently they never saw Wind Earth either.
Yeah, so and I never got to play Wind Water either, and I think that matchup's pretty 50-50. I think I'm pretty decent against Fasoya. I just didn't see the cards that I needed. So, but overall, I mean, I still had a fun day, and I mean, the latter half of the day definitely made up for the first half of the day. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because now tell me about the second half of this day. I heard there was a nice, massive draft event going on.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 70 of the people signed up for it. Don't quote me on that number. I'm not sure if that's... But I know the top 8 wasn't allowed to play because top 8 of Constructed had to play during the draft happening. And so what they did was, because it was already getting kind of late, and because we had a lot of people there, and I was like, man, how are they going to run this? And I also did the trivia, too, which was kind of fun. I know we didn't really touch on that, but it was a lot of fun. Kind of cool side thing that Lockwood threw on. And you got, like, some promos and stuff just for participating. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. I remember I came in and jammed a game with... Because this was, like, between Swiss and top 8 that he started... Or that was going on. Because I remember coming in and jamming a game or two with, like, Eric and Dan while that was going on.
Yeah. So they basically... they have a sign-up sheet. Everybody signs up. I want to say it was, like, 70 people for the draft. And... they split it up into... It might have been more than 70, because they split us up into 8 pods of... They tried to do 8 pods of 8. But there was, I think, a little bit extra, so there was a couple big pods. And there was one really big pod that actually got to play Swiss. The rest of the pods was a one-and-done tournament. If you lost once, you were out. It was just a bracket. And one loss, and, you take your cards, and you can go play somewhere else.
Gotcha.
So I sat down at my table... I only recognized a few people there. I think I recognized one guy from a different tournament, and then Serena was at my table. And we're drafting our packs. The first few packs, I'm like, man, am I gonna be able to make a mono Earth deck? Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, all my cards were Earth, like every single one. I had a playset of Yojimbos. As it goes, I start to draft some lightning cards. I get Zapped. I get Ramu. Mostly just a bunch of 4 CP 8Ks for the most part. Like, I draft just a lot of bodies that aren't super great, but they're bodies. And then I also
That's
had
pretty good. Note to 7.
yeah, and then I also had some threats like Galuf and Heroic Emperor, the lightning one.
Oh, yes.
So I had some decent threats. Had some pretty good backups. I had the Crystal Chronicles Moogle. I had Shantoto.
Then you're set.
Yeah, I mean, I went in kind of wanting to draft Earth Ice if I could. I grabbed a Snow. I just stole a Snow, and I actually ended up putting it in my deck because I was like, if I get to play it, I get to play it because I had so much color fixing. I think I drafted 5 Kolkas, the Earth Searcher.
Yeah, it's pretty okay.
And yeah, so I mean, I managed to win a lot of my matches. Win all my matches. The last match was extremely close. Came down to kind of the last turn, and I kind of ran him out of resources and was just able to put too many bodies on the board for him to handle. And then as soon as I realized I win that match, I'm like, man, I get to play in the All-Star draft. And then I didn't even sink in like what that meant really, because RB had actually gone over what the All-Star draft was before the tournament started. And if you're not familiar with what this is, typically what it is it's like a cube, predetermined list, usually like a bunch of one-ofs from all the sets, and then you draft it, right? And you make a deck. However, this one's a little bit different. So normally when you play a cube, you don't get to keep the cards. But for this one, the stakes were you got to keep what you drafted in the cube. Every card was foil. And then also they put in a bunch of, every card that had a promo version basically had their promo version in there. And it was foil. Then 30th Anniversary Gabranth promos, the A10 Cloud, or A01 Cloud. There was a Laswell promo in there. And I want to say a few other things that were pretty rare. Oh, yeah, all the foils from Opus 1 were Wave 1 foils.
Oh, that's even better.
So every card that possibly was Wave 1 was Wave 1. And this came from his personal collection. He put the cube together from his personal collection just to kind of throw this as a big event. So it was pretty sweet. So yeah, we sit down at the table. People were recording us drafting because, this was kind of like a hype thing. And RB's sitting there. I got Justin Jacoby beside me. We cracked the first pack, and I'm just looking at this thing, and I'm just like, what the hell, man? Like there's just bunches of legendaries, all foil. And I'm trying to figure out what to draft. So I decided to start drafting Fire Ice. And so I take a Squall, a legendary Squall from Opus 1. I take a big Bahamut. I get a Phoenix. I get some pretty decent fire cards, some pretty decent backups. And then I think the first pack from somewhere makes it around to me, and I'm looking, and there's no fire and ice cards in it, but there's a 30th Anniversary Gabrantha there. And at this time, he didn't tell us that there was 8 until after we were done drafting. So I'm like, there's no card I want in here for my deck. So I was like, I'll just rare draft this because, if I win somehow, I'll just keep it. So I take it. And it, because that pack's not going to hurt me either way, because I'm not really getting anything out of the pack. And also, at that point, I was kind of drafting Earth as a third color if I had to play it. So I was like, I'll just play Gabranth if I have to. And then that pack kind of goes. I'm still drafting Fire Ice, grabbing the power cards when I can. And even some maybe cards that aren't as strong but kind of fit what I need. And then the second pack gets around to me, and I see another Gabranth.
Yikes.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this because if I lose, I'm still guaranteed to keep one of these. Oh, because there was a rule. Yeah, so actually there was a rule, I think I forgot to say this, that if you lost in top 8, your opponent got to take one of the cards from your pool and add it to theirs. They just couldn't play it, but they got to keep it.
And apparently, if they got it, they couldn't. If it's a card they got for ante, that card couldn't be taken from them.
Correct. Yeah, they couldn't take it. Somebody couldn't take it again after that. So I'm like, okay, the most that can get taken from me is 1 card, and even if they take my Gabranth, I still am left with another Gabranth. So I'm like, that seems pretty good to me. So we're so we're drafting again. Again, I'm still kind of focusing on Fire Ice, taking Earth cards if I have to, unless I'm left with something else. And Justin kind of looks at me, and he's like, I think you're gonna like the next pack. That's all he says. And I'm like, okay. So the pack gets passed to me, and I look in there, and it's a 30th Anniversary Gabranth.
Sploosh.
So I'm like, yeah, I think I just have to take this on principle. So I just take it, I pass. It goes around, and then we kind of make our decks. And by the way, that pod was pretty stacked, so there was only 2 people I didn't know. It was me, Dan, John Schreiner, Hunter, Sam Toole, and Irving. And then 2 people that I didn't know. Irving just drafted like straight mono water apparently. Like he just drafted one color deck. I know the crazy thing for me was Dan drafted a Golbez deck and was able to get Golbez and Delita and then did it in the first game of his draft. And I was like, that's just nuts. Hunter ended up putting me out in the first round of top 8. Then took one of my Gabrants, but he didn't know what they were at the time, like until it was explained to him.
Dude, that was the funniest part. Well, because I walk over to your game and I see he's got Estinian and Varuna out, and I'm like, this Adam's probably in trouble. Then you like drop a Ultimecia, and I was like, that's fine for a turn. But anyway, I kind of walked away to go to the bathroom. And I remember coming back, and you're doing the anti thing. His reaction when you tell him about the Gabrant promo.
Yeah, he just didn't know that it was a thing. Apparently, he had been passing it because he's like, Gabrant's a bad card. He didn't know that it was actually worth money. So he had just been passing those Gabrants. And I'm assuming other people didn't know either, I guess.
Yeah, because I remember him saying like he's holding like a 2 CP Lightning backup. He's like, well, shit, if I'd have known that, I'd have been drafting those instead of this.
Yeah. But actually, that backup kind of won him the game, to be honest.
Fair. Turns out.
Yeah, because he goes turn 1 that. I have to overpay for a no value like Irvin. And then he goes turn 2 Estinian. And I'm like, okay, this is bad. I have no answer for him right now. And then his follow-up to Estinian, the next turn is Varuna. He attacks with Estinian twice. Varuna's now a forward. So now I'm staring down an AK with Brave and a guy that can attack twice, and I can't block. Yeah, and I was dead pretty fast. So the Ultimecia like stalled me 1 turn, and then I was dead the very next turn.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So and also Hunter's a good limited player as well. But yeah, I mean it was tons of fun. I don't want to like RB for putting that on is amazing. I don't know if they'll ever do it again because it's from their personal collection. So, I mean,
but either way, it looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was pretty hype, and that kind of made the event for me. I think like that was probably my favorite moment from the event, just being able to participate in that, and it was kind of one of my goals too, because I'm pretty heavy into limited in general, and so being able to do that just kind of cements the fact that I feel like I'm pretty good at limited. So.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. It seems like we both have our niche. I'm pretty good at title. You're pretty good at limited. Well, you know what? And we both are average. I'm kidding. Well, we're both good at constructed too. I'd definitely say you're the better player on that one there. But point is, you know, you made up for it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun time. So.
Yeah, and then when we finally left the venue, it was, you know, we're all dead to the world. Then we go back to the Airbnb, and then we go grab some dinner. You know, a good old-fashioned dinner at midnight sounds great.
Yep, it was pretty late at that point. I think the venue basically kicked us out at some point. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and then I know my flight left. Like I had to be at the airport early because I still had an early flight. I initially was supposed to work on Sunday, and well, the day before I left, that Thursday, they were like, well, we're supposed to get real shitty weather this weekend, so if you want, you can take PTO on Sunday. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably just do that, whatever, which in hindsight, I probably should have just done that in the first place, so I wouldn't have had to get such an early flight. But, you know, I don't even go to bed that night. I don't think I end up passing out until like 5, because the airport I was flying out of was like 15 minutes away from the Airbnb. The only like blemish I had is one of my decks disappeared from the house. I think someone picked it up by accident. It was my wind water deck in a black deck box, which turns out everybody at that house had a wind water deck in a black Final Fantasy box. I need Michelle was it Sarah McLaughlin playing in the background while I beg and plead for someone to return my deck to me if they have it.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully get it back.
Yeah, will you go ahead and put the Sarah McLaughlin music over this part so we can really hit home?
I would, but I don't like to use too much trademark stuff on our stuff.
Touche. But then so I went to the airport. I get there at like 6, and my flight leaves at 8 because, you know, TSA in a big city. But turns out it only took me like 5 minutes to get through. But I get on my plane, and when we're getting ready to, you know, taxi out to the runway to take off, like you can hear like the engine not turning over, and then like the lights flicker and like the power goes off on the phone on the plane. And I was thinking, oh shit, this is it. This is how it ends. We're going to be up 40,000 feet in the air, and the power's going to go off. We're just going to fucking sink like a rock. and nobody I knew was on this flight. I was surrounded by strangers. I was like, I was beyond frightened. So this is the year last year, or 2018, I guess, was the year I overcame my fear of flying, and then this shit happens. I was a wreck the entire time on this plane, Adam. I didn't tell anybody this yet. I was legit frightened for my life.
I had a funny story actually related to that. So like we're Ubering to the airport, me, Curtis, and Steven. And this lady, like we told her we're flying, right? We told our Uber driver that we're flying. We're about to go on a flight. And she starts telling us this story. It's like, oh, did you hear the story about this person that died on an airplane? And I'm like, lady.
Oh, fantastic.
Why, man? Why are you telling us this when we're on our way to an airport? And she's like telling us how this like person got like their window broke and like their head got sucked through the window and then people were trying to pull. I'm like,
the fuck out of
yeah. I'm like, lady, come on. Like we're about to get on a plane.
Dude, and I had a fucking window seat too.
But yeah, I mean, you know, the way I saw it, it's like, yeah, that thing's kind of rare. Of course, like these anomalies are gonna happen, but yeah, it was just a funny story.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we do it thousands of times a day as a species. We get in a metal tube filled with rocket fuel, and we just dare something to happen. It's awful. But thankfully, while I'm on this flight, the ghost of Wade Boggs came down and really calmed me down and told me that it's not so much about the record; it's about the journey.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Wade Boggs isn't dead. But yeah, overall, it was a fantastic weekend, and I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I wouldn't have traded anything for that weekend. Like, it was absolutely amazing. Just, you know, the last night, you know, the Saturday night we're there, or I guess in the morning, where we're all just kind of sitting around outside by the pool, just shooting the shit, talking, telling stories. We shared the infamous Steven video from Kansas with everybody, which was kind of funny because, you know, Kurt, we could share the audio, but we couldn't share the video. So Steven and Zach were going to play a game of Smash Brothers initially, and if Zach won, Curtis could share the video. But then it turned into a game of Final Fantasy. Zach won, so Curtis got to share the video with everybody, which was kind of fun. So it was a fun little cap to the evening. And then, of course, you know, John and Dan came over, and we were just, you know, shooting the shit, telling stories. Like the friendships we build at these things, like the moments that stand out to me, man. Like sitting outside with Matt Rice. Also, I forgot probably the most important shout, and that's Colin's girlfriend, Amy.
Mm-hmm.
She was such a huge help to us outside. Like, she was kind of our go-between from, you know, what's going on inside. She was always bringing us deck lists. I believe on stream you can hear me refer to her as our Chuck Daly, because we're talking about the 92 Dream Team. And this was the first time in my life I ever asked a woman if she could be my Chuck.
Yeah, she was really helpful in helping us set up too. So
yeah, and you know, between her and then of course Justin Jacoby coming through with the lunch, it was just, you know, super huge, because I missed the pizza because I was outside, and by the time I got around to it, it was like cold and old, and I was like, well, I'm still gonna eat a slice, but thankfully old Justin Jacoby was there to really hook it up for me. You know, really just a really great team effort. Excellent work ethic, great work. Yeah, man. Just by the way, I was saying that all day today. So Alejandro, you have just straight like added some new things to my vocabulary, and I can't thank you enough. But yeah, dude, overall it was just a fantastic weekend, and I can't wait for the next one, which I know the weekend before ours is the New York Petite Cup, and I'm seriously considering going, because I definitely want to play in one of these before, you know, the Crystal Cup season starts.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna try to make that one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, the Richmond one is right around the corner. And it's so funny. As we started recording this cast, we had the Reunion House group chat. It has immediately been named RVA Petite Cup chat. So the boys are back in town. Let's do it. Dude, I can't wait. But, man, overall, like, just an excellent time. And, again, it goes back to what we said last season. If you have a chance to go to these events, by all means, you know, really make the time to come out. It was also really cool, too. Another familiar face in the groups, Genesis Cisneros. Mm-hmm. He was actually at this event. This was the first event he traveled to, so you can actually check him out on stream. He won his stream match, came out, and, you know, it was in the hot seat with Chris Adams. So it was really cool seeing some more faces that, you know, we interact with on Facebook coming out to these events. So again, I say, if you've never gone to an event, please, please, please take the time to at least go to one. You'll have a great time. It's such an amazing community. Everybody's welcoming. You'll get to hang out with people, meet some faces, talk to people. And also another big shout out to Max Williams for judging the event and his buddy, I believe his name was Jason.
Yeah,
Jason?
People were calling it, or he referred to himself, I think it's Freddie Mercury.
Yes, yeah, everybody was calling him Freddie Mercury because he had just the most amazingly glorious mustache. So, those guys were judging, and a big shout out to them. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I know Max Williams was doing a bunch of little videos, and he put them on a Google Drive, which you can find in the Facebook groups. So just a bunch of little quick videos, a bunch of little snippets of him walking around. So it was just a really fun, interactive time. And I really think this time the community is off to the right foot because we really made this event interactive and really made it, even if you weren't there to be a part of it, like we made you feel like you were a part of it just by posting all these videos, really having a fun interactive stream and a fun interactive chat, which, by the way, we had about 40 to 50 people in there pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking to continue that with the Richmond one because I'll be streaming that as well. And
yeah, absolutely.
I got some ideas and some ways to up the production value a little bit, and then while still keeping it kind of down to earth and interactive and stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. I know you and I will be in the booth calling the shots on that one. It'll be fun, and maybe Matt Rice will show up too. You never know. We're putting the ideas in his head. I mean, overall, man, just a great time. I can't wait to do it again. And I know next week, this is all I've got. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to this week's cast. It's just a nice recovery day for us.
Yeah, I don't have anything else other than we're gonna definitely record another episode on Sunday, and we already got our guests lined up. So
yeah, we've got it's just gonna be a fantastic podcast. Just know that the name of the episode is gonna be called "Great Work." Toot 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 toot. Yeah, man. So other than that, again, as always, thanks for listening. Be on the lookout for more announcements for the Petite Cup. And you can find the archive or the archive video of the stream on the Cards of Evil East Twitch channel. You've got about 11 hours of footage to watch. So if you want a great tournament to watch with some fantastic commentary, some fantastic play, and just an overall good time, man, check that out. You won't be disappointed. But other than that, man, I'm ready to go to bed. I know it's early, but I am exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know you got to lick your wounds from yesterday because Nikki Sixx did not bring the heat yesterday.
I think he brought the heat, but it just fell short.
Yeah, it happens. Drew Brees brought the heat too, but that's another cast for another time. RVA returners talk football. But until next time, friends, thanks for listening as always. Y'all are the best.
Yep. See you later.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening once again to the RVA Returners podcast. If you like this content and you want to hear more, check us out on YouTube at RVA Returners, and make sure you follow us on SoundCloud and check us out on Google Play and iTunes.